Hello, welcome to my video on if Killing Floor 2 is worth your time compared to Killing Floor 1. After playing both games for quite a long time, I adore both of them immensely, but during this video it may seem like I lean towards one over the other, but just keep in mind I'm a long time player of the original and I'm way over attached to it. As of writing this video, Killing Floor 1 has a 96% approval rating, while Killing Floor 2 has a 95% approval rating via Steam users. So obviously you can see that both games are pretty similar when it comes to how good they are. Currently Killing Floor 2 is in early access, which for me is a dislike, but also keep that in mind during this comparison as everything is subject to change. So without further ado, let's get into some of the details. Graphically, I've always enjoyed Killing Floor more than most. Yes, its old Unreal Engine setup is out of date and never heard of particle effects or any of that crap, but the art style for me is to die for, and I've always loved that. Killing Floor 2 also uses the Unreal Engine, but a newer version, and while they've kept the art style, it's not quite the same as it once was. Everything from characters to zombies has got a lot less cheesy and has gained a sense of realism to it. Some will love that and some won't. Personally, I love the cheesiness because that's what Killing Floor is about to me. A bunch of British commoners laughing in Specimens' faces, and each other for that matter, while mowing them down with AA-12s and other crazy weapons. On the other hand, the new level of gore is amazing. Blood will stay in the same place that it's spill all the way through the match. When you knock off a limb, it looks absolutely wonderful if you're as sadistic as me. On top of that, the guns, maps, characters are all rendered spectacularly. Not much more than that you can say, really. Killing Floor 1's gameplay took pride in being really smooth and reliable with a decent amount of options to accompany it. I always admired the high FPS despite spawns, explosions, etc. I always loved how wonderful just moving around felt in that game from the get-go. There's always been something very unique about its gameplay. In Killing Floor 2 it still feels wonderfully refined, but not the same by any stretch of the imagination. To me, things often feel rather floaty, and it doesn't seem to be the same level of customization and sensitivity as the original game. Your body adjusts over time, but I never start the game in the morning and go, wow, this feels really good, like I used to with Killing Floor 1. Some gameplay mechanics have changed, as some perks are not in the game. These are Sharpshooter, Firebug, Demolition. This is obviously subject to change as this is in early access, but I'm still disappointed as it feels like a lack of content for a £20 game. The trader is also no more, with some weird pod making your guns, which I despise more than anything else in the entire game. I want to flirt with my gal again in between each round while buying massive guns and talking about how big they are. Like the good old days.
It's open, boys. Come get me.
With Killing Floor 2, more specimens have been added to the lineup, and some have had massive overhauls to their moveset and health. The specimens that have been added are the Cyst and Slasher. The Cyst is more like cannon fodder, and the Slasher is more like a combination of the Clot and the Gorefast from what I can see. Although all have been reskinned, the only ones with significant change are the Husk, Scrake and Fleshpound, as the others seem to be similar to how they used to be. The changes with the Husk seem to be slightly slower bullet travel time, and also if you get close to him he'll spray you down with flamethrowers. The Scrake's changes consist of him being a little bit more tanky, which he looks. Then he seems not to shove the chainsaw into you anymore or run you down. Instead he jumps around and flings it. You could almost compare him to a ballerina of some sort with the way that he spins around, and it's not quite as scary as it was, shall we say. Then the Fleshpound. His changes aren't what you'd expect. They've become less damaging but more tanky. Without your entire team there, since there are no sharpshooters or anything, you tend to be fucked over, but not by pure damage per hit, instead by damage over time. Of course, depending on difficulty, things like this may change. If you're playing on Hell on Earth, it might not seem quite the same. In the original Killing Floor there was a whole host of weapons, usually sticking to the homemade and the common. Killing Floor 2 mostly sticks to this tradition despite its lack of content due to early access. The only class that doesn't is the medic, as all of his weapons look straight out of 2050. which would make sense if you had a device that could heal people being cut to pieces in around 2 seconds. They're all rendered beautifully, as I mentioned in the graphics section, and extremely accurately. There are some new ones, but I'm not going to analyse all of them as there's just too many to go through, but they are listed on the Killing Floor website, which I'll put in the description. Also, the gunplay is very fun and interesting, as well as reminiscent of Killing Floor 1, which I love, obviously, because I don't shut up about it. I'm glad that the ones in the game right now are working well. I'd rather have few guns that work absolutely amazingly in the game, rather than having loads and loads and loads of them all having little bugs and stuff. There's not much else to say about it, really. Now, from what I can see in the game and what I've looked up, but I can't 100% confirm this because it could be on higher difficulties, the Patriarch seems to be no more in Killing Floor 2.
I'll show you no mercy.
Instead, the main boss is Hans Volta, maybe one of the worst bosses I've ever played. Not because he isn't interesting, but just because he's boring to go against. I used to get so excited about the Patriarch, you know, it was something that you build up to. Obviously you still build up in this game, but you build up to it, and then there'd be almost like this rush of adrenaline because his way of killing you and, you know, the things that he would say were so good and so fun, and I guess it gave you almost like a thrill. But with Hans Volta it doesn't seem like that anymore. He kind of runs around and throws grenades at you that are easily dodged. He has way too much health for what he looks like. The Patriarch always looked very, very beefy, and I just don't enjoy fighting him. It feels like a chore, sadly. Now this just might be me not liking it because I love the Patriarch so much from the first game, but it is a little bit disappointing as well, and I was kind of sad when I got into it and I saw that, wow, this isn't quite the same. Maybe it shouldn't be the same, but it shouldn't be boring either. So if I was to give a little overview, yeah, this is definitely worth your time, but just keep in mind that if you're looking for what was the same in Killing Floor 1, it's not always going to be there. But to an extent that's the best part, because in the old days where I used to play Call of Duty and stuff when I was younger, when I was like 13 and 14 and stuff, every time like a new game came out in the series, I would stop playing the last one. Well, with Killing Floor it's not like this. Killing Floor 2 feels like a completely different game, and I love that about it because I'm gonna get to play both of them perfectly. It's the issue with a lot of games these days, they're just carbon copies of each other, and if Tripwire didn't, I guess, change it up a bit, what would be the point getting the new game? There's no point buying a game just because it looks prettier than the last one, if that makes sense. Some people will disagree with that because obviously some people are really into the series, but if you go out and you buy this game, know it's not exactly the same, but also cherish that. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.